So back in Payson Canyon today, trying to see, looks like there are some things that have been rebuilt here. Yeah, that's new, I don't recognize that.
Yeah, all this stuff was made last
fall?
Well, last spring, about this time.
Okay.
When I first saw it. You see, this thing is dug out.
Oh yeah. Yeesh, that takes some work.
But there's some twine on here.
It's pretty elaborate.
I don't have to think about that when I see twine.
They have
but people
this blue,
like that.
blue thing. Readers notice it seems like they like blue. I don't know if you know what if there's anything to that, but it's always weird. There's something blue there.
But first time I saw these, they hadn't been there for very long, and then didn't get touched much last summer, and then there's nothing to get in here now. This was the last time I was up here.
So there's a flurry of activity last year. So
Early
last year.
You know, like about this time.
So right when it would have been before it would have opened up, I guess, really, because it just opened up. That's kind of like when you showed that lady, the campground lady, stuff up on the hill.
Yeah.
It had already been built on day one when nobody was allowed in earlier. Well, that's a full-blown teepee right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a couple partial ones over there falling in.
Yeah, they got all. This is definitely like a village. Yeah, it's definitely like a village. Yeah, you can see how that is twisted. I mean, I guess that could happen naturally, but it's really quite convenient. There's no way humans could at least do the big one there. That's twisted down. Yeah, the only place I know that has a kind of a village like this is by Mapleton up Maple Canyon, but I noticed this year they have it closed because they're trying to upgrade their water, culinary water.
And then you got two, there are more that are just kind of falling in right there.
Yeah.
But you remember the village thing that was here before and then basically got torn apart and then replaced by all this.
Okay, yeah. And they sawed it all up. They had chainsaws going and yeah. Yeah, there's quite a bit here.
So, I mean, is it a result of the fires? Well, it could be, you know, or it could be something else. I don't know.
Well,
but I haven't been where, like, it really seems the entire canyon has been moved out of, you know.
Seems like there's not as much, I mean, it's a little more sporadic. I mean, they're not, doesn't seem like they're here day to day as much.
Well, I don't think they're in here at all.
Yeah.
I've seen no sign whatsoever.
Yeah.
I would always see things that would question, you know, couldn't be as sure, but would make me wonder, but the last several times, I mean, nothing.
No wood knocks or things probably.
Nothing that even.
Yeah. Yeah, in the old days, I remember one time, I think I heard Rio went up with someone and they heard these loud screams, you know, like a woman. It was trying to rain and everything, and they finally got down to this camp where these little kids were, and they were wondering what the screams were, and they told them what it was, and they told them Sasquatch stories and kind of blew their minds, and they were like huddled around the campfire. So I wasn't there, but it sounded like pretty good stories. But yeah, it used to be like that up here.
But you know, you wonder, I mean, first, I don't know what a Sasquatch would do with that, but I have no idea what a person would do with that.
Right.
It's too small to lay in.
Yep.
You know, no idea.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess you saw the. Oh, go ahead.
I think that I don't really think they're necessarily overnight structures because they're probably out walking around all night. But you know what I've become convinced of too is, you know, when we're out there looking in the woods and we hear these knocks, I'm convinced now they aren't standing up; they're laying down. You know what I mean? And after Rio said he saw them and heard the sounds coming from them while they were laying down and heard what a knock, but he figured they were making it, you know, with their mouths. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, he said he had a thermal image and he heard the knock, but he didn't see it do anything with its hands, so it's really weird.
And
pulling it off.
You know, I've come right up on knocks, and as much as I have heard knocks in the woods, I've only a couple times found pieces of wood that I thought could have been used for that, because it has to be really sturdy, something that wouldn't just explode when you hit a tree.
Yeah, I've tried to do knocks, and it has to be pretty fresh. I mean, it has to be solid wood on solid wood, no bark. You know, usually it goes thud if you don't you can pick the right piece.
And I have one video where I stumbled onto I think it was over in Santaquin Canyon. Stumbled onto a big teepee. Okay, walk in, pretty quiet, and boy, I hear this knock, and it's a very early video, and it was right there. I mean, like from here to that thing. It's where it sounded like it was coming from. I was right on top of it.
Yep.
And doggone it, I looked and looked. Obviously, I felt really, I don't know if scared is the right word, but really apprehensive.
Yep.
I don't get scared, you know what I mean? I mean, in the woods, and really that jittery, apprehensive feeling, you know, they say accompanies those things. But I looked everywhere, but I didn't think to look in the big brush pile that basically was there, that something could have crawled into, you know. And
yeah, I've had at least a few times. One time there was one up in the tree. It was a pretty loud knock. I mean, I have heard that what is it? The bark beetle can do little knocks, but the loud baseball bat ones, they can't. So
no, and you'll hear those when they're 100 yards away from you. I mean,
yeah. You know. So, and I wonder, you know, can they cloak? I mean, maybe not, but I mean, I can see why people would think they could.
I'm very skeptical on any of that.
Well, yeah, you have to be.
That would have to be proven, because
it's
basically you're violating the laws of physics as we know it. So.
Yeah, tough to pull off.
I think it's a lot more likely probability they're laying down in the grass and we just aren't seeing them. You know, and they're in areas where they can do that.
They're definitely masters of camouflage and that type of thing. Kind of evading like a military would.
Well, I mean, think about this.
Evading detection.
For all these years, people out there looking for them, and they seeing them or catching glimpses of them, but never really catching one or getting really good video. Now with the advent of thermal, and actually from what I understand, they sell now drones with thermal cameras on them. I think we're going to see a whole new revelation of stuff.
Hope so.
I was just watching a video the other night of a thermal drone in Florida. I don't remember what they were looking for, but I think they were looking for boa constrictors. You know, they were going in there to kill the snakes.
Try to do that. Yeah.
And
hunting season, they're hunt them anytime because they're evasive.
They're tougher to. I guess they have to find them right after dark, when their body's warmer than the ground, because the snakes obviously they lose their temperature. They're pretty close to what the surrounding temperature is pretty quick.
That's interesting. Yeah, they're cold-blooded. I've watched, I don't know if it's real or not, but you know, Expedition Bigfoot, and they were in Alaska last season, and they did manage to get some type of thermal with something by people walking around, you know, this red figures, and you know, so, and it looked pretty good, but you never know with something that's produced kind of Hollywood style, you know, if they like kind of, you know, made something for, you know, an audience that wasn't quite, you know, I can tell that they take the audio and kind of recreate it to what they heard, because it's kind of obvious, but anyway.
Well, you know, nobody can convince me that this stuff, first of all, an adult would come in here and make this, just to make this, okay? Second of all, kids would come in, no, they wouldn't do that. There's a lake over there they can go fish in it. I remember as a kid, you want to go fishing or just, you know, this is too much work. And then to break these branches and to find broken ones, I mean like this one here, I don't think there's any twine in this teepee. There's a couple of sawed off ends, but you know, Forest Service has been all through here, so there's sawed off wood around.
And then to top it off,
95% are just broken.
and then to top it off, often you'll have this big, at least one big piece that, you know, nobody's going to be able to move. This one, not so much. I notice, at least in Utah, they seem to always have like one that's higher than the others, like it's a, we call it a steeple. I don't know. It's just kind of funny that it's very consistent, so I don't know what to make of that.
Don't know. I don't know if there's anything.
They're just things I notice. I don't have any answers to. But
I don't know if you remember that huge teepee that I was with Rio when we found up by Payson Lake. Do you remember pictures of that? Great big teepee made out of poles as big as telephone poles. Remember that at all?
There's so many things I can't remember which one.
Anyway, that had a great big branch coming out the top and was in a great big curlicue, you know. I mean, like a curlicue that was 7 or 8 feet in diameter, you know.
Was that what he calls dry bark wallow, or?
Yeah, up near dry bark wallow, down at the bottom of it.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, I know which one.
Dry bark wallow.
Yep, I remember
and
that.
Rio pointed that out. He says, you know, I've seen this stuff. These teepees, not necessarily curlicues like this, but something sticking up, just like you mentioned there, you know, for whatever reason. Weird.
It's kind of subtle where nobody would notice it unless they're, you know, looking at all these different structures and seeing a pattern. I know, it's weird.
Well, let's walk over to that other structure on the top of the hill.
Okay.
Let's see if it's still there. Over in Santa Quin Canyon, I found campsites, okay? Now, where there had been a fire pit. Because that's the big thing about the Sasquatch structures, these guys that don't know anything about them. They never bother to realize there's no fire pit. There are always fire pits where people camp. I mean, always. Nobody camps without building a fire.
And occasionally there's a mock fire pit where you can tell it's never been used and it looks off.
But I've actually seen some fire pits, and what's interesting about it is they're holes dug down. There's no stones lining them, but there has been something burned. You know what I mean? Some wood burned in them. And actually, I had one of those was over here. It disappeared a long time ago. And this is the best preserved, but this has been here for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, I don't think I've seen this one before. It's really sturdy one.
Yeah, it's around the other side.
Yeah, I don't remember this one, so this is new to me.
Well, you saw a video of the guy that found that tower of rocks that had been put together. I came up here and just photographed the base of it.
Oh yeah, that was.
I don't remember his name.
Kevin,
the guy who was doing this around here.
Yeah, Kevin.
Apparently, a guy that had some rhubarb with Rio.
Yep.
And he found the whole thing. I mean, it was about 4 feet high.
Yeah, it was crazy how it was balanced.
Huh. I don't think I could have built that. I could have mortised rocks together like that. And I don't know anybody that could.
Yeah, their ability to balance stuff. I mean, I don't know, a lot of skill, patience, or talent.
Now, if you wanted firewood, this is the one to take apart to get firewood. There's some wood there. And then over here, long since disappeared, there's a little opening. And there were like pentagrams on the ground. A great big circle in branches, and a 5-legged star in the middle of it. You know, weird. I mean, some really interesting stuff. But I don't know if those are hippies doing that, because when I lived in California, once a year they have some sort of moon dance thing or whatever.
Solstice thing or something.
So I could be out hiking in the woods and come to a little hilltop, and there's a bunch of naked hippies dancing around on the top of the hill.
Oh, okay.
You know,
sounds like California.
You've probably heard about that, you know.
Probably
the same kind of the people that go over to that Burning Man, you know, in Nevada.
Yep, yeah.
A lot of these
it's kind of like a.
Yep. But anyway, so I've seen that sort of stuff in the areas where these people would hang out. And I don't see that in Utah, but in California I saw those people quite a bit. Because I lived right next to an open space, so there's several different little hillocks.
Okay. Yeah, they probably have some like a
And the press, well, there was just one night a year, and I don't remember what it is. It's some, you know,
Festival.
Druid festival or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And it was a ceremony of the moon or something. We never hear about it here, but they did in California. And, you know, they'd just be up there dancing around, you know, after dark, or right at dark.
Well, that's a huge juniper tree it's built around. It's
Yeah.
one of the bigger juniper trees I've seen. It's kind
I
of
don't know
weird,
if
like
that's a significance or not, because that's the biggest juniper. In fact, if just about
Anywhere.
the only juniper
yeah.
in this whole area.
And I don't know. Sometimes they'll pick a big tree like that. I don't know if it's again Druids or Sasquatch or what. But yeah, that's interesting.
But to see it, yeah, I think the only reason I would think they do that is that they could find it easily. You know, from a distance, you just look
yeah,
at
that
the
would
tree.
definitely help. Yep. And I guess it's kind of a form of a cedar tree, really.
Yeah, because if you
We call 'em
remember up on
junipers out here.
the hilltop between the lakes up there was the big tree that one structure that had started to be built was leaned against, and then in Dry Bark Wallow or whatever Rio called it, you remember there was that other huge tree that you could see from, you know, long distance away. It wasn't,
Oh yeah.
but
Okay.
it was
I
right
remember
next
some.
to it.
Yeah, there were some really big trees in there.
Let's go over here just a little further, just in case there's anything up here.